Raphael. You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy, guys? In real life, a military guy. I just know his boss works in Gig Harbor, Washington. Came to my house, beat, rape, and torture me and my wife. And some of my fucking neighbors came in the house to watch it happen while children were also being beaten, raped, and tortured. And they didn't say shit. I can't give any names, but if you're looking out of the front of my house, to the left-hand side, the guy came in and laughed. He saw somebody bleeding out of their crotch, mouth, and bruised eye from being raped, and he laughed. You think how crazy that is? Well, because I think his Air of Tech, this Airborne Ranger unit, came to my house to force me to work with a Courtney Hunt MD after, I think his superior officer. I know him through some other military men. But I mean, you think about, they brought actual other military units to my house. They brought some I think the Greek or Italian military to my house in Furlan Heights. And one dude got bled out in the throat. They brought him to have sex with kids at my house. And I find it fascinating that some of the men that were involved in that situation are still allowed to have freedom or procure women and children for their other military friends. Like, I got real life in my area, they're like counter fucking agents. He's popped up on my For You page, TikTok. Oh yeah. He tried to get me to sign paperwork and do a podcast with some people against my will. He tried to get me to give my information to Courtney Hunt, and then he did. The reason I'm doing my cameo right now is I let him lead me to believe that I didn't know anything about it, and I took his advice. But he showed up trying to get me to do genetic protocol. He recommended I do genetic protocol. And I recommended to Courtney Hunt, why don't you offer Air of a Tech 15% sales commission, for selling your product? I told her, tell him it'll be money for his son. And she goes, his son gets free college and education because he's a war hero. I was like, I was fucking crazy. I was like, Courtney, you told me you didn't know the guy, but you already know his son is going to get college and all, like you're on a personal relationship? But I didn't tell her, I didn't tell her I remembered them having sex in my upstairs. And then them talking about how they were going to get me to sign legal documentation over breakfast. Like, she actually stayed at my house and banged, had sex with the military men that were staying at my house, procuring children to give to other military men for blackmail. I mean, I'm fucking crazy. I know Air of Tech because he was one of the men bringing other soldiers from other units and his own unit to be sold out. That's the only reason I know that guy. Like, I know him because he was part of the extortion deal. I know a lot of people. I know this New Jersey recruiter with a clothing brand. I lied. Well, I shouldn't say. I have two phones. I recorded them trying to force me to take this deal that they set up in exchange for extortion. Like, we're going to steal all your information, and then we're going to have you work for us. Like, fuck no. They ended up giving it to this recruiter in New Jersey, the other side of the country. But I made sure that she knew it was stolen and there was blackmail and extortion ahead of time. And I'm pretty sure they told her, Martin's going to be offed. That's the second one. The Line of Judah clothing brand. No, this is for, oh my God, I can't even think of the name of it. It's a lady. Her name is, the New Jersey Recruiter or some shit like that. She's like, she started a clothing brand. Like, she started because she was offered it in exchange for extortion. Like, you help us cover some shit up in your area, a whole other fucking state, and we'll give this to you. But I had another phone, and I was recording them trying to force me into take this deals for extortion, cover up pedophilia, bestiality, all kinds of shit. I didn't agree to that shit, but another lady did. a recruit, and you think about how many fucking people did she recruit after taking that deal of extortion? But yeah, Albert, not the Lion of Judah clothing brand. It was a different one. A different one. But I've been trying to get out of business with Courtney Hunt for over 15 years. She literally has people beat, rape, and torture me and my wife so she can provide us medical care in the hopes of gaslighting me into working with her after she fucking had my children kidnapped for extortion. She had some kids. My mom took money. My sister took money. My mom and my sister took money. I remember when they took my wife to the hospital to have her child. My mom, Josephina Akiri, and my sister Monica Harvey took money from a Dr. Courtney Hunt to take my child away from me and my wife for a short period of time so I would sign legal documentation giving Courtney Hunt my information. I signed the paperwork, and they brought the child back to me, and then took the child again, beat and tortured me and my wife, I think it was a girl, it's hard for me to remember, took the little girl again, Coronado, for me to sign paperwork again. And then the church got involved, a lady, I believe from the church, to bring the child back. And I was like, nope, it's a monkey baby. I don't want it. I literally was like, it's a monkey baby. I don't want it. And they didn't understand what was going on, but I have autism. You're giving me my child back so that you can rape my wife. You can fucking torture me and take the child. So we'll sign paperwork over and over again. I was like, keep the kid so that we don't have to go through that shit again. But we didn't give the kid up. We didn't give any of our kids up or anything like that. The military men who helped kidnap our children lived in my house. They murdered they murdered some fucking teenagers. Some teenagers were like, overheard them talking about taking we take his fucking kid, he'll sign anything we want. And some kids were like, you're going to kidnap his child? And they're like, they just fucking dusted kids. They don't give a fuck. My neighborhood doesn't give a shit. I think it's so fascinating. Like my homeowner association, like, stop talking. I'm lying. I'm doing all this. I'm like, it's fucking public. Like, I hand kids out everywhere. Like when my live feeds go down and people don't come up, people get into the neighbor's security system. And be like, I saw you. I'm like, show me. And they'll literally show me a video of me walking by my neighbor's house out of a security system that hooks up to Xfinity or Comcast. It's very interesting. These are my rants. Yeah, it's crazy, Coronado, and I don't have anybody to help me. We had this guy, Matt, from the FBI show up, and he literally begged my wife. He's like, this is worth a lot of money. And this is out of his mouth. Please don't report these rapes. Please don't report this stuff. It's worth a lot of money. And I'm just looking, I'm like, you want me and my wife not to report our own rape because it's worth a lot of money to somebody else? And then Matt from the FBI kidnapped my wife. They threatened to have her murdered if I didn't fucking do shit with Helly Hansen. And then you know how fucking crazy this is? Helly Hansen gave me a restraining order to not go on their property after I had been fucking fighting to get away from them. I'm like, I don't want to have shit to do. Me and my wife we want to have shit to do with them. Like, she was working at Applebee's when you fucking forced us to go back to goddamn Helly Hansen. After Matt from the FBI had people fucking murdered in my house to force us to work with Helly Hansen. The fucking authority. And this is what's crazy. I scream. I make a lot of noise. Like in my backyard, the military guy that kidnapped my wife to take her to Gig Harbor for extortion and get a lot of men in Gig Harbor murdered. I was in the back and kids were watching and he's screaming at me because I'm throwing my vegetables in my backyard and piling shit up in my backyard. I did not know how to handle that. There's literally kids watching in the bushes, listen to this guy threaten me and my wife. So I'm like, he's making me eat my vegetables. Help me. They didn't know who I was talking to. They thought I was just screaming, being delusional. I'm sure my house is bugged now. I mean, I would be just absolutely ignorant to assume it's not. But literally, right here in my backyard, I'll show you right here. I'll spin this camera around here. The dude from Gig Harbors, they had me on my fucking knees out there. And then, they didn't think I remembered. So they let my neighbor Jerry come pretend to stop it and then offer me some business deals. He's like, oh man, I fucking stopped them from kicking your ass. You guys, we should go into business. And yeah, I'm like, fuck you, man. I know you helped them. Like I remember you talking about murdering fucking cops and witnesses. But while this shit was happening, that place right there had somebody go missing and they didn't say nothing. Nobody said nothing. Everybody just keeps saying there's too much fucking money to be made. We're not going to talk, we're not going to talk about what's going on. There's too much money. It's crazy. It's crazy. But like when I talk about these things, the fucking real EMT team had to pull one of my neighbors out of the attic of my old house after some of him and his friends showed up to have sex with kids and a fight broke out. You think how crazy that is? It's sheetrock. There's sheetrock. He was willing to allow himself to starve to death or die of dehydration. Agonizing, the most agonizing, painful death. I mean, think about the hunger, laying there, just allowing yourself to die because you don't want anybody to know you're hiding in there. I ended up having the ambulance come get him. Oh, I know I'll tell you what, my neighborhood has been bugged for a long time. In real life, Coronado, I had a traumatic brain injury. And I know, I talk about that guy from Gig Harbor. He showed up to my house to recreate a situation or whatever. But in real life, my neighbors, some people sat across and they laughed about a Russian person tearing up my driveway or my front driveway to take a hard drive that was wired to some cameras in my house. I mean, you know what the fuck was on that hard drive? It was literally like just buried in there so nobody would ever know. Like there was no way to know. Like you had to know it was there. Like came in. They're like, people asked me what I was doing. I'm like, I tried to make up some crazy lie so they would call the police. Coronado. I made up a crazy lie. I told my neighbor Diane. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, we're going to put a 30-foot bridge with a waterfall, koi ponds. And she's like, there's not 30 feet there. I'm like, I'm putting a 30-foot bridge with a koi pond and a waterfall. As soon as this guy's done forcing me, giving him my money. Literally. Checked out. I'm like, I'm putting a 30-foot bridge with a waterfall and koi ponds as soon as I'm done giving this Russian my money. But I don't want a koi pond. I don't want a bridge. I don't want a waterfall. I don't want any of the shit he's doing. All of the work he's doing, I don't want. As you can see, he has my phone. He's text messaging himself from my phone and replying to his own messages from his phone. They literally watch the guy use my phone, text message himself back and forth, tear out my driveway or part of my house, take a hard drive and leave. And they didn't say shit. Not one member of the military in my community went, you know, there's a lot of shit that the military's been doing in that house. We better tell somebody because what's on that drive or what it could have been documented is very important. And then, Coronado, after that, my light switches, my sockets, my whole house was gutted, taking the cameras. They literally came through and took all the cameras out. Like, and I think somebody had to publicly, you can't come to a house in your neighborhood and take the light switches, everything, smoke everything off, looking for cameras and taking cameras without somebody knowing they're there. And ain't no one say shit. No one said shit. No one said nothing. But I remember that, the fallout with me and Matt from the FBI. We're in my son's, what used to be my son's old bedroom with a desk in it. And we did something, I'm documenting. I'm like, You know, I did this. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was like, I took the drugs and I put it over here in so-and-so's whatever. And they literally were like, we don't report that. You don't report everything. You just report the stuff the bad guys did. And I'm like, but we put drugs from the bad guys into your belongings or one of your partner's belongings. Like, you guys have the drugs from the sting that we're not turning that in. We're not reporting the shit that we do. That's what, like, Matt from the FBI is like, we don't report the stuff we do. We only report the stuff the bad guys do. And that was my fallout with Matt from the FBI. He don't report his own crimes, which I think because he's already caught doing dumb shit. He's working for the bad guy. I think personally, that's what I think personally. He was already working for the bad guys. So, but I mean, you think about my neighbor. I have autism. I scream a lot. My neighbors watching situations unfold until people die so they can come in and have sex with the dead bodies. I mean, think about this, Alberto. A lot of times when these things were unfolding, nobody said nothing because they come in and have sex with the unconscious bodies. Little children, women, and soldiers. Literally, they had men come have sex with the dead bodies. Film pornography. They made porno with dead bodies. Coronado. It's nuts. Literally, all of this shit so people can make money against or use my information. And then you think, it's so nuts. It's so nuts. This is what happens when I do a lot of exercise and my memory come back. But at least I'm not crying about it anymore. Oh, yeah, Coronado. This is my neighbors had discussions about murdering witnesses and officers because sometimes the witnesses and the officers would show up before they realized and would see they were the ones fucking doing it. They had to pretend it was someone else or something else was. They always say like they invite you over, Coronado, to do bad shit and then find out, oh shit, there's somebody coming. They'll kill you and be like, I saved Martin from Coronado. And the kids and people are like, you fucking just murdered your own group of people. You invited these people over. You initiated the nasty shit. You were doing the nasty shit. And then you just got dressed so you could tell the police officers you heard the commotion and saved their lives. Or I don't know what the fuck they told them, but it's nuts. But I mean, my wife's like, I'm like, baby, it's corruption. But, you know, they talk about Courtney Hunt getting my books. I got taken to Puyallup jail, Coronado, and they threatened to beat and sex traffic my wife again while I was in jail if I didn't have my wife or me sign my information over to Courtney Hunt again. And they had already done that. The Puyallup Police Department had already illegally arrested me so that my wife could be sex trafficked to force me to give my information. And then, you know, it's even worse, Coronado. After they sex trafficked my wife, they let me out of jail. And so that their accomplices don't get in trouble, they give me a gun, a knife, and tell me to go save my wife from the bad people. And those bad people don't want to go to jail, so they fight for their lives. We get in battles. I was like, the Puyallup Police Department setting up premeditated homicide of their fucking accomplices. Not the whole thing. Not all of them, but in real life, somebody did. Yeah, they put me, they locked me up in jail and then, sex traffic my wife, kidnap our children, beat and rape and torture her until I signed paperwork giving my information to a Dr. Courtney Hunt or other people. That's so fucking illegal. Like, why? How did Courtney Hunt get your shit? I'm like, fucking 500,000 people saw me go to fucking jail and saw what happened to my wife so that Courtney could have that. She asked the court to do that and they fucking did it. That's so fucking illegal. They threw me in jail for talking about it. If you talk about it, if you talk about us facilitating extortion, covering up pedophilia, bestiality, and necrophilia, we will fucking end you. They've stole my, we got videotapes of officers taking my money to give to Courtney. Well, now that you don't have any money, you're going to have to work for her, sir. I mean, literally. I'm not sure if they're obvious people in police uniforms beating, raping, and torturing me and my wife and taking our money and our property to give to a doctor. at the request of some fucking corrupt airborne rangers. I don't contact anybody. They just fucking kill everyone. There's nobody really you can contact. I mean, you think about this. Where I live right now, this situations I'm speaking about, they have been doing for a long time. And none of the men who set it up ever get in trouble. I mean, you think about fucking crazy. As a cop, I'd be like, God damn, Jerry. How the fuck did you know to show up here at 2 o'clock in the morning and kill these 12 soldiers who were trying to have sex with a kid? By the way, where are your fucking clothes? Like, no one says shit. They're like, damn, you did it again. You a fucking hero. You did it again. They were recorded in my house. Courtney Hunt. She is a military or FBI rape doctor. So she provides out-of-state services for victims of military and FBI rape. So if an FBI agent loses it and rapes somebody, Heir of Tech loses it and rapes somebody, or Tech Nasty, Courtney Hunt is the doctor that shows up to remove the DNA evidence so that they can get away. Like, I already reported the first time they broke into my house to torture me and my wife, and they literally said, the soldier I was talking, he has a career. He already has his path, has been determined to make it up the chain of command and make it somewhere in the Airborne Rangers, whatever. For reals. They didn't realize I was recording everything going on. So when they gave me my traumatic brain injury, the first thing somebody did when I got by myself was make sure I saw those videos. But yeah, she asks, I mean, you think about this, Coronado, if you're a rape doctor and you go do a kit on someone and you discover Ernie did the rape and Ernie's an airborne ranger, you can either turn Ernie in or you can call Ernie and go, remember that night of the 12th? I showed up to do a rape kit and your DNA came back to my office. Now, I'm going to need you to go torture Martin and Heather for more information, Heir of Tech, or I'm going to have to report you for rape. So Heir of Tech and Matt, who don't want to go to jail for committing crimes, yes, were blackmailed into torturing me and my wife. But you think about how crazy this is. Heir of Tech and Tech Nasty doing all this shit for a doctor and other people so they can make money. They got illegal immigrants, coyotes, and associates of cartels and terrorist organizations to help them. You don't think a cartel would go, I want to document this shit. And here's the kicker. In order for the blackmail for counterintelligence to work, the rapists, the pedophiles, and the men who practice bestiality have to get away. If Heir of Tech and my neighbors go to jail, they can't blackmail nobody for counterintelligence. There's nobody that still has their job for to secure information. There's not that 6 degrees of separation that can lead us to other people for counterintelligence. They have to, right? Now, in real life, there's a cartel, a terrorist organization, a very corrupt FBI agent, somebody making sure, right? Those men keep their jobs. Because if they don't, the blackmail doesn't work. I can't blackmail Coronado for information on the Airborne Rangers if he's fired. If I document, and you would never do this, Alberto, but if I documented you raping somebody and you're an Airborne Ranger, I can't turn you in if I want to use you for blackmail. I have to make sure you maintain your innocence. We have to do everything in our power as a cartel to guarantee your innocence. Because if you get fired, how the fuck are you going to get me information for counterintelligence? You can't. You can't give information to the Taliban, to ISIS, to the Al-Qaeda, to MS-13. Nobody, if you lose your job. You can't give your information to anybody if you lose your job. They have to do everything in their power. So when Heir of Tech and Matt from the FBI or whoever the fuck they were, military, broke into my house to stuff me and my wife into 50-gallon drums so that my international foster kids from the Middle East and South America would see that the FBI and the military are the ones killing people and stuffing people in drums, since their parents were murdered and stuffed in drums, could see that, Right? You think of Air of Tech and Matt from the FBI training my international foster kids? That the FBI and the Airborne Rangers are the real terrorist organization? I mean, if you were a kid and you watched that shit and then we sent you back home to your home country, the first thing you would do is go, don't ever trust the Airborne Rangers and the FBI. They're not the real, they're lying. Look what they do in their home country. They're lying. Literally, they gave me a traumatic brain injury and they gave me international foster care through Catholic Community Services and another location. Kids from South America and the Middle East, specifically to watch the military torture me and my wife. Why would they need to make sure an international community of foster kids see the military torture me and my wife? More importantly, an international community of foster children that have lost their parents, had their parents hung, decapitated, stuffed in barrels. Why would Matt from the FBI need to make sure those kids see the FBI does those things? It's almost as if Matt wants to make sure none of his friends' victims will speak forward. You saw the video of what the FBI does? Now, can you tell me what happened? I didn't see shit. Are you going to speak to anybody else? Nope, I don't know shit. I didn't see shit. I don't know shit. Why didn't you see shit and why don't you know shit? Because I saw fucking the FBI do it. Why didn't you see shit and why don't you know shit? I saw the fucking Airborne Rangers do it. And then the FBI and the Airborne Rangers hired a fucking hitman. I saw it. Like kids, like I saw a fucking hitman show up. A real life fucking hitman. I was like, you can't just fucking arrest them and take them to jail? So why can't you take these people to jail? Because they can tell you who was doing the rape. Like, so you gotta kill them? Even the kids? Yep, everyone. Anybody who will speak to the authority got to be fucking murdered. The Airborne Rangers, fucking wolfhounds. But they do Christian conversion therapy. They practice like fucking real life shit. The Airborne Rangers practiced their torture technique on me, Coronado. And all I did was go, okay. I pretended like, oh fucking, you got me. You got me. And I'm just like, God damn. I wonder how many other people went, you got me, and then just went, boop, 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 boop. I pretended to give in to the torture. Track this fucker. Shoot his fucking helicopter down, because when he tells you where it's at in the Middle East. Just make sure he has time to jump out of the fucking airplane before it goes down, or the helicopter before it hits the ground, because we still need information from him. So, right? Before you shoot that chopper at 12:01, because that fucker's jumping at 12. Tracking him from my fucking house. I mean, real life, they're a tech nasty. The Airborne, they bring in people to my house to have sex with kids and do drugs that they bought from the cartels and terrorist organizations. How fucking stupid is, I mean, literally, they can't win a fucking war. And these are the Airborne Rangers of the Year. Mind you, this is the best the U.S. Army has to offer. This isn't like just like a bunch of infantrymen. This is Airborne Ranger of the Year. Airborne Rangers of the Year. They're not making it worse. That was the whole end game, though, Coronado. The whole end game of the Airborne Rangers in my community, or the men that were doing it, is to make sure nobody trusts the Airborne Rangers. And I find that fascinating. You're a member of an organization, and your sole purpose is to make sure nobody trusts you. But not just you. The other Airborne Rangers, like there's other units, and you want to make sure children will never trust them. You want to make sure children will trust the cartel, that's just nuts. But I gotta go. Thank you for my rant, for my exercises. God bless.